Welcome to the Loveland All Sports Podcast, where the land of love can get updates on not only Loveland sports, but learn and discuss many sports topics. Let's have some fun, be friendly with an open mind, be controversial yet informative. Shoot any ideas you want to lovelandallsports@gmail.com, and be sure to follow us on Facebook at the Loveland Sports Guy. Loveland All Sports Pod is sponsored by Meredith DeWitt of Brittany Fritsch Realty, Loveland's #1 boutique brokerage. Contact Meredith for any of your real estate needs at meredithbfteam@gmail.com. This episode is to introduce another new leader at Loveland High School, Mr. Jayson Bruce, as our new athletic director. He is not new to Loveland, for he has spent the last 10 years as an assistant principal at the middle school, as well as he held the role as the middle school's athletic director. You will learn about long hours, what he does and why he does it, the team behind the scenes, how they manage over 550 events, and plans for facility improvements. And of course, we'll have a little fun with his time in the smoking seat. Jayson Bruce, thanks for joining me today.
Absolutely.
It's great to have you on the podcast. So first question I got to ask, why athletic director, and how in the world do you get into this type of a demanding job?
Honestly, I think it goes way back to just being in high school and even in middle school and younger than that, and always understanding and realizing how important athletics were to myself. And, going through college, I was very lucky to get into coaching very early, as I did a little bit of junior high basketball and then made it up to high school basketball over in neighboring school district over in Milford. And it was awesome always being able to see the impact of athletics on our student athletes and at that time, and even myself. It allowed me to make some great friendships that honestly I still call friends today.
Yeah.
Many, many years later, when you're in a locker room together with a bunch of guys and, you're sweating out on a football field and the trenches together, like that's where some of those memories and friendships are really made. And it's those things that just carry on for a lifetime. But it's even bigger than that. It's the meaning behind sports and the camaraderie, but also, being able to overcome, obstacles in your way, and how do you handle the pressure? So it's one of those things I think builds a better student athlete when they're involved in athletics. So as I went through, I did a lot of coaching once I got out of college and started teaching. Coached at Milford, I coached at Goshen, a few other places. So been very lucky to be in the coaching aspect of things, and just got to see how you can mold kids and help kids be better and more successful. And we've been able to send some kids off to college to go play their sport, which has been awesome, and still keep in touch with quite a few of those to this day. But when I got into education and eventually into administration, that was always my goal. I always wanted to be around athletics. My wife was a college basketball player. Both of my kids are athletes. So it's kind of life for me. So it just wanted to find something that I can continue to be a part of athletics in some way. And there's nothing better to watching kids just grind a week in practice and go out and shine on a Friday night or a Saturday basketball game or whatever it may be. So it's really all about, the kids, and all about where you can help them be and help them grow and take them to the next level.
Awesome. Thank you. I think when people think of athletic directors, the first thing I think about is the long hours. And, I know, having known you for 4 or 5 years or so, maybe longer, when you were the assistant principal at the middle school and the athletic director, I mean, your truck was there at 5 something in the morning and it left at 7 o'clock at night, and you're picking up cones at the football game that got rain delayed and didn't end until 8 o'clock. And that was absolutely awesome. Are you foreseeing a little bit of a break now that you're just going to be an athletic director?
I would say the little bit of break is that I'm not going to be here at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning.
Great.
That's the beautiful part. I'll probably show up, a little bit after school starts, but that night extends later into the evening. So it kind of balances out. It just shifts my days. It's very interesting because, a lot of people look at middle school athletic director and they're like, it's just middle school. But like during the winter, I literally had games Monday through Thursday. Sometimes, every other or every third Friday we would have wrestling or another basketball game. So there was a lot of hours being, taken up there just as a middle school athletic director. Now here at the high school, obviously it's a bigger beast. There's less nights, but the nights are bigger. The nights are larger and longer and things like that. So there's going to be some break. I'll get to sleep in a little bit, although I don't sleep a whole lot. But that's kind of where the break becomes. But though I do get to go out, and I'll just be out a little bit later at night, which, just shifting the day.
Do we have a number of how many sporting events at the high school level, freshman through senior, how many events are there in a year? How many sports do we have?
Oh, boy.
30?
I think we're a little bit over that.
Okay.
I think we're mid 30s.
Okay.
And when you look at all the different levels, like, boys basketball, for example, is one sport, but there's 3 different levels here at the high school. Right. So when you look at the number of games completely, from everything from a lacrosse match to tennis to football, whatever, we're over 500.
Okay.
So we're probably a little bit around 200 to 225 home events. Now, obviously, we could have 3 home events on one night where you have freshman, JV, and varsity boys basketball, just using that as an example.
Yeah, correct.
But we're well over 500, probably even getting close to 550 for the total number of events that our student athletes are involved in.
What season's the hardest? Fall, winter, or spring?
For me personally, winter is the toughest because I never get to really see the sun.
Because you're inside.
Because you're inside all the time. Yeah. So that there's that mental component for me that makes winter feel so long and drawn out. Although I'm a huge basketball guy, so get to watch that, and I really the love of wrestling. I've picked up over the last couple of years. Chris Redmond down at the middle school has really taught me the sport of wrestling. So been able to figure out kind of what that looks like and feels like and things. But after coaching girls basketball and for many years, that's still deep inside of me. I still love that and enjoy watching that and watch things come together. But I think fall is also tough. I guess all of them are tough, if I'm being honest. Right. Fall's tough because you're dealing with 96-degree weather at the beginning, and at the end, if we get a nice little tournament run, we could be in sleet or snow and 40-degree temperatures. And then spring, it is Cincinnati, so you never know what the weather is going to be from one hour to the next. So I think the spring is very tough because you just never know from one day to the next whether you're going to be able to play or when can we make games up, and it really becomes a scheduling nightmare at times.
That's crazy, and thank you for doing that. It's a thankless job that a lot of people will see your car never moves in its spot, but there's a reason. But there's also a team behind you. Who do you have behind the scenes here in the athletic department that helps us out?
There's, we always joke that the person that really runs the athletic department is Christy Brolport. Yeah. Christy is the athletic secretary here. She is one of the best in this area, if not the best. Everything that she shoulders on her plate and takes control of and take care of is amazing. Shane Lyons is the assistant athletic director here at the middle school. I rely on him quite a bit to kind of help me where everything is, how things work here at the high school. It is a little bit different than the middle school, obviously just on a bigger scale and how things need to be set up and done. And down at the middle school, we are introducing Corbin Litke. She is the new middle school athletic director.
Awesome.
We were able to get her from Milford High School, where she was the assistant athletic director over there. So we've got a great staff, and we're really looking at bringing things together 7 through 12. So it's not kind of 2 separate athletic departments. Everything's going to flow together. And in that regard, don't be surprised if you see Shane and myself down at a middle school game. Corbin's going to help us out here on Friday nights and some other things, which is going to enable me to be able to go see some of my kids play, my personal girls. So we're going to make sure that we have everybody together in a 7 through 12 program.
So I have to ask, when you go watch the girls play, do you have another set of clothes in the car? Because they're at that school down the road with the M on it, Milford. Yeah. So how's that roll when you roll down there?
It's interesting. So my oldest is a swimmer, and there's been several times where I'll just leave directly from a basketball game in Loveland gear and roll right into the pool and still in Loveland gear. Right. And people joke and they laugh, but they understand what it is and understand who I'm there to support and things. It is tough. I do try to have some other jackets that don't have any emblems on it at all or whatever that I can change to. But it's interesting, and it's kind of cool that some of those relationships and being able to see some of my daughter's friends come up and being able, when they come play us here for different sports and being able to interact with them and things it's been pretty awesome. So there's a little bit of two different families and two different worlds that I'm dealing with, which is kind of cool.
That's awesome. Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. All right, let's take a little break here. You are now entering Josh's smoking seat. I've got 9 or 10 questions here. I just want your honest opinion and answer, and rapid fire, so you don't have to go deep on anything. So just having a little fun. Skyline or Gold Star?
Skyline.
LeBron or Jordan?
Jordan. Oh, there is zero question. It's Jordan all the way. I'll probably get hate mail for that from the new generation, but
the kids, right?
There is no doubt.
Did you stay on the Bengals bus for the 31 years of no playoff wins?
Yes, I was actually a season ticket holder, and for 4 years, and saw a total of 2 home wins. And I ended up selling them because we had our first child.
Yeah, right.
But I'm still a huge Bengals fan, always will be.
Awesome.
Hopefully.
Is a hot dog a sandwich?
No, but I don't know why.
Should Pete Rose be in the Hall of Fame?
Absolutely.
What was your first concert?
It was Huey Lewis in the News.
That's a good one.
Rocking out.
That's a good
way back in the day.
Do you put milk in the bowl first or the cereal first?
Cereal.
That's wrong. Jack Nicklaus or Tiger Woods?
Oh, Tiger. I think he just changed the sport. I think when he was on his run, of course, not seeing Jack play, but when Tiger was on his run, he changed. In my opinion, changed golf.
When you make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, do you put peanut butter on one side of the bread or both pieces of bread?
Funny thing is, I hate peanut butter, so I'm going straight jelly on both.
Awesome. Have you met any famous athletes, and who?
Let's see. Carson Palmer way back in the day. I guess we can call him former, as somebody that I helped coach in high school. When he was in high school, Zach Street played at Northwestern and for the Saints.
Yeah, Milford, right?
Yep. Luke Waddell.
Yeah, Luke's getting there.
Famous athlete.
Right.
A few others.
That's great. Awesome. All right. Well, thanks for sitting in Josh's smoking seat. Just have a little fun here.
So it wasn't nearly as bad as I was expecting.
It's a family program. This episode is sponsored by Cappy's Wine and Spirits in downtown Loveland. Tap room, bottle shop, meeting place, great music, gift ideas, and just a traditional watering hole. The number of things Cappy does for our community are immeasurable. Last week was an art crawl. Saturday the 13th is a fundraiser for Loveland Youth Golf Program, and surely live music on most Friday and Saturday nights. See you at Cappy's. What are your goals as the athletic director at Loveland High School? I mean, I read respect, responsibility, integrity, and pride. Coach Damewood had 4 or 5, 6 different cliches when I met with him last week. But what would you say is the goal as the athletic director at Loveland?
I think there's a couple. I think first and foremost, and you hear all these different words, but I think it all goes back to character. Whether we are winning or losing, I want to make sure that our student athletes are representing the L with pride. I talk a lot about leading the L and repping the L. Like it means something, and it should mean something to every student athlete that puts it on. And I think that is first and foremost the biggest thing. Like, we're winning state championships, but we're not handling ourselves the right way. Something's missing. So that's one of the biggest things. The other piece is, increased participation and opportunities for our student athletes.
Great.
Getting them involved, making sure that we have, teams that are represented well and full of our student athletes. But then also looking at like our ECC All Sports, I think that's a pretty good measuring stick. And that kind of ebbs and flows throughout the years on, different things. But, we were very lucky to win it this year.
Congrats. That's
23-24
awesome.
School year. So, that's a big thing that looks at all of our programs get to put together. So it's not necessarily just one program and how well they did, but, it's pretty cool when we're towards the bottom of the ECC and enrollment, and we can still go and still go win it. And there's some really big schools in the ECC enrollment wise,
correct,
that we're battling, and we're doing a very good job. But all of that's great, and as long as we have the character piece that goes with it.
That's great. Yeah, to touch a little bit about your increased participation, I think that throughout the last, when you and I grew up, you played anything with a ball. You played all 3 sports. You played 4 sports, whatever. And now it's like over the last 20 years, social media in our society has now become where these kids get so specialized and they're playing whatever sport it is because that's what they think that they're going to go to college and get a scholarship or play in the pros. Talk a little bit about ways that Loveland will be able to provide opportunities for the multi-sport athlete. I mean, your multi-sport stud and studette athletes will be there.
Absolutely.
You think about in the past, you think about some of these kids, like you mentioned Luke Waddell, you think about Drew Plitz of the world. You think those guys, they'll be there.
Absolutely.
But there's also kids that need to be 2 and 3 sport participants and 2 and 3 sport contributors. They might not start, but they might be the 6th man or the 7th girl coming off or 1st or 2nd or 3rd girl coming off the bench, or maybe they're just on the sidelines. And how can we improve to encourage kids to play multiple sports?
Well, and first thing, I think that when you look at success within programs, it's not always your top 2 or 3 kids that are going to lead the success. On a basketball court, you're looking at numbers 4, 5, 6, 7, and how can those first subs off the bench? How are they going to help that starting 5? Somebody goes down, foul trouble, whatever it may be. So those are in many ways as important as the Luke Waddells, the Plitz of the world, things like that. But when we're looking at increased participation with it, one of the things that the high school coaches will probably get sick of hearing me talk about is we've got to share our athletes. We've got to find out ways to work together, to talk together. And we are not big enough that we can have just 12 girls playing basketball, 12 girls playing volleyball, so on and so forth. We are now a Division II school that is really good, but we need to share our athletes in order to be really, really good.
Yeah.
So it is talking with coaches and figuring out how can the girls basketball coach which is Chad Adolph, and how can our girls soccer coach Craig Schmiel work together and figure out training schedules.
Yeah. And
we've got 3 girls that want to switch over and play both. Okay, well, you're going to go here. I know your girls basketball is going to, Trine a couple weeks ago. Well, leading up to that, are those girls playing basketball and getting ready for team activities, all those different things. And I think that there is a lot of having conversations among coaches, but coaches talking to each other and coaches understanding that if a boy or a girl misses a few practices during the summer, that's not going to stop progress. That's not going to change their team drastically. Like we need to, figure out how to make it work. And I think we all need to step back and realize, why are we here?
Right.
Who is this benefiting?
Right.
Yes, it benefits us as a coach, but it's for the kids. And ultimately, and pretty much everything that I think about and decisions that I make, I always look at, how is this going to affect the kids? And is this in the best interest of the kids? And I think that as coaches, we all need to think about that. How are we putting our kids in places to be successful?
Well, and I get confrontational with different parents in the community and get talking about it. And I always ask them to go back to what they were doing when they were 14, 15 years old. Mm-hmm. And they cannot answer the question. And that's why I encourage you to go play football, basketball, and baseball. Go play 3 sports or 2 sports, and you have the rest of your high school career to whittle that down to 1.
Absolutely.
You don't have to make a decision in 7th grade that your kid is a softball player or a basketball player. LeBron's a perfect example. There's not many people like him. You're not going to be the LeBron. There was a kid in the ECC that's a phenom, but he since left and went up to Cleveland now, I've heard. So it's like, just let them be the way you were when you were a freshman in high school and enjoy the 2 or 3 sports.
Absolutely. And
the rest will then follow through.
And I think there's some pretty good stats out there and studies of pro football players and even pro basketball players were they multi-sport athletes in high school.
Correct.
And I couldn't even begin to tell you what the percentage is, but it's very high that they're playing at least 1 or 2 other sports.
Yeah.
And Luke, we talk about Luke Waddell here quite a bit. Luke played, tons of things. One guy that I mentioned earlier, Zach Streif, from Milford way back in the day, he was a football and a basketball player.
Yeah.
So it is, there is a direct correlation, I think. And I think if you're always training for one sport one way, I think it's doing a disservice to your body and to your muscles and even to your mind.
Yeah.
And I think, and I will say that, both of my daughters just play one sport. And I think that was for them just mainly because it's a choice thing.
Yeah.
My oldest did track for a little bit. My youngest tried track for a little bit, and they just didn't enjoy it as much as the other sports.
Correct.
But I think when we as adults force or highly encourage kids to make that choice, I think we're doing a disservice to those kids. If the kids do it because, you know what, I just can't hit a jumper anymore, or I'm not liking basketball, but I want to concentrate on X, Y, Z, then that's a different story. Absolutely.
Right.
So I think there's a big difference between those two pieces. But we have to, as adults, eliminate our bias in that our sport is the best or whatever it may be, because there's way too many Division I and pro athletes that were multi-sport athletes.
Correct. Good point. Thank you. All right, let's close up here a little bit. Facilities. We have had some big improvements the past few years here at Loveland. However, you go to some of these other schools, and I'm just blown away. That gym at Milford has been awesome for a long time. Great scoreboard. You look at that. You look at what they're doing there. You and I aren't going to talk political or levy or whatnot, but what we, thanks to Rich Bryant and what he's done in the last 2 years, and we wish him luck in his new adventure here at Loveland. He'll still be around, and the bleachers in the new varsity gym are pretty sweet. What can the community look for as maybe some next level, not pie in the sky, but some more short-term facility improvements?
So it's going to be a combination of things that probably are visible and things that are not.
Okay.
And kind of what I mean by that is, we're looking at some upgrades with some sound systems here in the gym. And that might not be something that people just notice until they hear it. We're looking at some scoreboard upgrades throughout the district. I know it's a kind of a 1 to 5 year, project on trying to get all of the major scoreboards repaired or replaced rather. And one, making sure the brand is everywhere, throwing that L. Paul Loveland on things, but also making sure that we have top notch. I just know that we spend a lot of time fixing some scoreboards and trying to get things to work. And, for example, we had an issue with our baseball scoreboard a couple times this past season.
Yeah.
And one time it went down right before a playoff game. So trying to get that to work and all these other things. So there's going to be some of those pieces which are very visible, but also other things that aren't fancy, but upgrading some gates, upgrading some fences and things like that with some security features, and just making our facilities, stand out.
Yeah.
But you often have to replace some of the stuff that nobody really wants to talk about in order to get it to that point.
Right.
And there are some a little bit of dreams, but some plans in the future to explore some other turf options.
Nice.
You see what's going on at Lebanon, and Lebanon is building basically a brand new stadium.
Right.
You got the things that are going on over at Milford and Little Miami. A lot of these places have now 2-3 turf fields for junior high and high school to play and practice on. And we have one, which is fantastic. But there is when you go and play on turf surfaces, but you go practice on grass, it's vastly different.
Right.
And I didn't really realize a whole lot of that until I was paying attention to like girls lacrosse this past season. And Coach Graham was talking about how much of a difference there is between practicing on turf versus practicing on grass.
When the ball hits differently, it rolls more, whatever.
Yeah. And you get as my youngest, who's a soccer player, like, she hates playing on grass because you just never know.
Yeah.
Just that whole thing. You just never know how it's going to bounce. Almost 95% of the time, even higher on turf, how things are.
Right.
It's also reliable. Rain, you're still going to be able to practice a little bit later. Things like that. And hopefully that offers up more opportunities for our kids to get on turf and practice that way. And it's more efficient. It's even safer. I know there are some things out there with other potential injuries, but when you're practicing in grass, who knows where there's a mole hole or just anything.
Yeah.
So we've had some injuries just practicing on grass as well. So that's a big picture item down the line. So it's a combination of really cool things that people are going to see, and then some behind the scenes things that people probably will never know happen. But for those of us that are around the facilities enough, we're like, okay, this has to get done now.
Yeah.
For the safety of our student and even for our community.
Awesome.
in many cases.
Well, and that's, when the time's right, or through boosters, or through volunteers, through your team mom, because every sport has a team mom, or a team liaison, I should say. That's how the community can get together and help, and maybe with some of those little things. And then when the time comes right for financial support, let's hopefully we can get Loveland up to where some of these others are. But we also have to respect the fact that you and I grew up playing on dirt infields with a rut in it or whatever. But then it's a society we live in, which is awesome. So let's hate the game, not the player. My son was he went to a football camp at Miami this past weekend. And one of the first things he said was, the turf in the indoor facility was amazing. And I'm like, that's a Division I school, a Division I college that's won multiple MAC championships. They can have that. And Loveland's is good. It's just not amazing. I'm like, don't get used to that, bud. Yeah. So, it's like, hey, if you want to be motivated to play Division I football based on the turf, then it was a win. It was a win. Well, Jayson, can't thank you enough. Been a great conversation. Is there anything else that you'd like the listeners to know?
I think one of the biggest things that you started touching on a little bit, our Loveland Athletic Boosters have been an amazing support for us here. And not only helping from being able to help kids, get what they need, but even supporting our bigger projects and, big long-term things. And I would just encourage everybody that has a student athlete, or better yet, if you've had a student athlete, get involved in LAB.
Yeah.
Even if it's just getting your membership for the year, whatever it is, all of those pieces, donate to the boosters, because I can guarantee you all of that money is going back to Loveland student athletes. And that's the beautiful thing about it. It's not 10% off the tops going to wherever. It is 100% going back to our student athletes. So, I encourage those alumni to get involved in that as well. And I think that's kind of out of sight, out of mind for a lot of folks. We've graduated, we've gone to college and moved away, or maybe moved back, or whatever it is. We would love your support. You literally, those are the shoulders that all of this was built upon. And we want to continue to build and build and build and build and make this even better place than it possibly is.
And a reminder, it's not always about money. You can donate this other thing called your time, and that sometimes is more valuable than money. Between three kids and everything I've done, and people are laughing at this podcast because they know who the booster president is. But the amount of time is more valuable sometimes than money. And I can't tell you, how many times I've weeded up the hill on Loveland Tiger Trail, because that's run by boosters. I can't tell you how many mulch sales we've done. And if we can just get people to come out and work 2 hours, 1 hour, that's better really than any $50 you can give. So you can learn all that through the Loveland Boosters website. And Jayson, can't thank you enough. I've gotten to know you over the last 5, 6, 7 years, whatever it's been, and I look forward to the next 5, 6, 7. So Absolutely. Good luck to you. Thank you,
sir.
You bet. Thanks again, Jayson Bruce, and I hope you all learned what it takes to be an athletic director and run our athletic program. Congrats to everyone for winning the ECC All Sports title in 2023, and best of luck in repeating in 2024. Remember to send any feedback or ideas to lovelandallsports@gmail.com. Peace.